Hey everyone, in this tutorial I'll show you how to create a wound with stitches. It's very similar to FX makeup, but instead of using materials that are more traditional, when it comes to creating FX makeup looks, we'll be using just body paint. If you want to know how to recreate this look, keep on watching. To start the wound off, I mix a red and white paint together to create a light red color. I then use a small thin brush to paint a stripe down my arm. This will be the middle color of the wound and will help give the look more depth rather than just using a red color as your base. Make sure the line gets thinner the closer it gets toward the end of the wound. The white paint is from Graftobian and the red paint is Kryolan's Aquacolor in Blood Red. Now using that same thin brush and the red paint, I start painting the bottom of the wound. I chose to have open parts to the wound. If you want your cut to be thinner, you can go ahead and do that and use the same technique. To paint the top of the wound, I mixed a brown paint in with the red paint to create a dark blood red color. You want to keep one side of the wound light in color and the other side of the wound dark in color for this look. Once you're done painting that side of the wound, take that same brush you were using to apply the paint and use it to blend the blood red color into the light red line we painted on before. Make sure there is barely any paint on the brush when doing this, otherwise you're going to end up turning the light red paint into that dark blood color. I mix a very small amount of black paint in with the blood red color and paint a small thin line just below the edge of each dark red opening. This is going to shade the area and give it just a lot of depth. And it's important to do most of these steps I'm talking about, otherwise it's just going to be a 2D painting rather than a 3D painting. Now I'm using a light vanilla color, it's actually called Fair from Wolfe Skinz, as a highlight, and I'm highlighting the edge of the wound that has the red paint, not the darker red side. Use a thin brush to paint light strokes around the blood. Highlighting will help this area look more raised. You use a little bit of that paint to highlight the red paint as well by painting light thin strokes into the red paint. Use the dark blood color to paint light small strokes on top of the blood red paint as well. This gives the look more texture. You can just keep it as that flat red color if you want, but if you want a wow factor, you need different tones of red to both sides, but still keep one side darker and one side lighter than the other. Use a paint that is a shade or two darker than your natural skin color to shade around the darker side of the wound. This will help that area look more sunken in, whereas the highlight, like I said, will make the lighter side of the wound look more raised. After you've outlined the darker side of the wound, use a paint a few shades darker than that color to outline what you just painted on. This will add even more depth. You can see it with your own eyes. When I start outlining what I just did, the wounds look even deeper. I then outline the highlight that is right below the blood red paint using one of the paints that I just used on the darker side, the one that's a few shades darker than my natural skin tone. To paint the stitches on, I'm using a black paint. After I've got the stitches painted on, I go back with my Wolfe Skinz Fair paint and highlight the corner of each stitch, and then use your skin tone paint to shade below that highlight. This will make it look like the stitches are inside of the body. I then use that paint to create little dots on top of the blood red paint again to give the wounds more texture. You can leave the look at that, but I'm going to show you how to take the wound even further. Use powders that are similar to the skin tone paints you used and apply them on the sides of the wound. Use a lighter color on the lighter side and a darker color on the darker side. The powders I'm using are bronzers and they're from my NYX Contour Palette. You can use any powder you want. It could be a bronzer, eyeshadow, brow powder, you name it, just as long as it works for you. The powders better help the face paints blend into the skin, so it's a more seamless line, it looks more realistic, and it really helps the wounds look raised and sunken in. I used the first and fourth powder on the second row of my NYX Contour Palette. I didn't use any of the highlights to add any highlight. It doesn't really work like that for this look, but yeah, the powders, like I said, they help a lot. Now I go back with the black paint and use it to outline the lighter side of the wound to make the entire wound look deeper. Whereas before I had one side look a little bit deeper and one side look a little bit more raised. This time I'm just having the entire wound look deep by adding the black to the lighter side. Then highlighting with the fair paint right above the black that I just added to the wound. Shading and highlighting go hand in hand. You can't do one without the other. if you really want to make something kind of stand out. So it's important to do this step if you want to create this version of the look where the entire wound looks more sunken in. That's the second version of the look, and now let's move into the final version of this look. So the final thing you can do if you want to do it, you're going to take your red face paint and add a lot of water to it, so it's very watery. And you're going to take up the paint with your brush, and you press the brush into the skin, and it's going to give the blood a very natural looking drip. Or you can just paint the blood on if you want to. And then the other thing you can do is you can use like cosmetic fake blood, vampire blood that you buy around Halloween time, or like Mayron, Graftobian, coagulated blood, or thick blood. I don't think a thick blood would be too good for this look. I think thick blood is better left for like actual prosthetics or using on like wax or latex, things of that sort. But on face paint, I think it's better to go with like the cheap vampire blood. So you can go ahead and use that, and then you use your white paint to add some highlights to the blood to really make it stand out, or you can mix a little black into it to make some parts darker than others. Have fun with the wound, have fun with the colors, do a lot of shading in one part or a lot of highlighting in one part. Just mess around with it, and the more you mess around with it, the more you're going to get an eye for it and like know exactly what you want to do when you create these type of things. So if you guys want to see this like series continued, if you want me to do more FX type of looks using face paint, let me know in the comments below. I don't know if this is something you guys would actually want to see. So yeah, I'll see you guys in my next tutorial. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not subscribed, and please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. I'll see you. Take care. Bye.